Hello. It's Monday night, so it's Monday pregnancy mindset time, and it's the first time that I've done this from my kitchen and not frigging frozen to death. So we've kind of survived the snow. Result. Kids back at school. Double result. I've got some time to get some work done. Triple result. And the kitchen's a little bit warmer, so I'm very happy. And I've just realised I haven't got my customary cup of tea. It's no good for anyone, is it? Quite excited about tonight. Got a good session on tonight for you, where I am going to be talking about, let me just move that, your amazing pregnancy body. We do a lot of talking about birth preparation in terms of your body is kind of a medical model, and the focus is often on what can go wrong. And so we're here just to bring a bit of balance tonight and talk about all of the amazing things that your body can do and does and just is naturally. And hopefully you'll walk away this evening feeling super calm and super confident in what your body does, because you'll know how it works, and you'll know how much power there is in you, and you'll know what you can control. Because actually that's one of the other things that we talk about a lot. I know I've said this before, I say this quite a lot, that one of the things that irks me is when people say, well, there's no point preparing for birth, because, you know, the second you go into labour, it all goes out the window, doesn't it? So what's the point in preparing for it? Which is bullshit, I'm afraid, because you do have an element of control over what happens. And the stuff we're going to talk about tonight covers that off. So I am going to take a big swig of my leftover Diet Coke. It's a bit unusual, but I've had a not brilliant hangover on Saturday morning, for which Diet Coke is essential in my book. Because I've got 3 children, I didn't get to drink it all. Dreadful. It's been in the fridge, so now I'm finishing it off. So just a little slurp of this. And we're good to go. We're good to go. I'm going to kick off with a uterus. It's a big gun. It's an amazing thing, your uterus. Something we don't talk about at all very often. Very rarely. And hey, Natalie Stringer, I love that you always come. It's really nice. Thank you. How you doing? Hiya. Can you hear me this time? That'd be very good. I did actually remember to turn the microphone on this time, which is a massive Billy bonus. Yeah, thank you. So we're going to kick off talking about the uterus, because it's one of the big guns, and it's an incredible organ in your body that we just don't talk about. So the only time really you talk about your uterus is if you have problems with your periods, and then you might go and see the GP, or you might have a kind of a running kind of girl's gag about what's going on every month and what it's like and how you experience it and blah, blah, blah. And then when you get pregnant, and then once you get pregnant, the main thing that we talk about is not how incredible it is that you're growing a whole flipping human in your uterus, perfectly designed to do that thing. But often we talk about what could potentially go wrong and how your uterus might not function effectively. And if it doesn't function, how we can step in and yada, yada, yada. And frankly, you know, you can find that information everywhere else if you want to. I'm here to talk about how amazing it is. So we all have a common experience of starting life in the womb, right? Every single person on the planet. Yeah, we all started there. And what an amazing thing that is. Frankly, we should be, I said this morning, actually, I think. I posted something this morning about the Damien Hirst statue in Ilfracombe of Verity. It's about truth and justice, but it's a woman who is oh God, Natalie, you've gone wild. Well, hello, there's a very cross face there. That's freaking me out, lady. There is a statue in Ilfracombe, and it's of Verity by Damien Hirst, and on the one side it's a it's the external part of a pregnant woman, and she looks hugely impressive. She's, you know, strong, and she's holding the sword of justice aloft, so she looks very tall, and she looks fantastic. And then the other side of it, being Damien Hirst, obviously, is the inside of her. But it's so rare that we sort of honour this incredible organ, the uterus, and it's madness. We should say more about how incredible and powerful it is. Quick fire facts about the uterus, things you probably didn't know. It starts off life as in its normal state as about 3 inches in diameter, and it weighs about 60 grams, so it's teeny tiny, and then it goes mental when you're pregnant, and it can increase in size 500 times, people. So much it made me cough. Sorry, 500 times. That's an incredible thing for a part of your body to do, to increase in size 500 times, and then within 6 weeks of giving birth it has returned to its normal state. So that 6-week period after birth is not just about your hormones returning to kind of pre-pregnancy levels, but it's also about your uterus returning back to its normal size and your body returning to this kind of pre-baby state, which is pretty flipping amazing in my book. And it is the strongest muscle in the body, although apparently the Guinness World Records Book of World Records records the jaw as the strongest muscle in the body, but I think that's probably because they can measure the force and power of the jaw more effectively than they can measure the uterus. And also, of course, it's a oh, hang on, Nat's saying that my video's dropped off, and I don't know whether I think it has or not. I'm just going to keep talking wildly and hope that I haven't lost any Wi-Fi. I might just do a little click and see. Hang on a second, see what happens if I do this. Okay, so I think I've got Wi-Fi connectivity. I think I'm going to carry on, and hopefully it's not my Wi-Fi that's died, it's Nat's. Hecky thump, let's just see. Oh dear. Well, you know, hey ho, let's just do this. Yeah, no, do you know what? I'm going to crack on and just hope that there's not a problem with the Wi-Fi. Oh, okay, good. So, hi, Carly. Good to see you, lady. You've just reassured. Oh, I love your smiley face. You just reassured me that I'm not talking utter bobbins, and that I have. Well, no, I might be talking utter bobbins, but I have still got connectivity, so that's cool. Nat, I'm sorry if you dropped out. Anyway, we can catch up. Where was I? I was talking about the Guinness Book of World Records, and the strongest muscle in the body is probably not your jaw, as it is written in the book, but it is probably your uterus, because it's flipping incredibly powerful. It has these lovely sets of muscles. So it has its vertical muscles and its horizontal muscles, and these work perfectly in harmony to deliver your baby from your body. So the purpose of the vertical muscles is to efface and dilate your cervix, so it just opens up the cervix so your baby has a lovely clear passage, and the purpose of those horizontal muscles is just to gently squeeze and ease your baby down. You see, it's designed perfectly. And the lovely Ina May Gaskin, who I've been furiously snow week, 4 days at home with the kids. It has been some beautiful parenting, but it's been very little work. However, I have managed to get a load of reading done, which has been brilliant. And I've caught up again with Ina May Gaskin and Birth Matters. Right, this is a great book. If you don't know who Ina May Gaskin is, she is an American woman who set up a place called The Farm. Slightly more complicated than this, but she set up a place called The Farm where women could go and birth in a sort of fairly natural state. Anyway, she writes very positively about birth, whether you want to give birth sort of with or without drugs, or at home or not at home. She writes very positively about birth, and she's well worth it. And she says, and I love this quote, this is one of my favourite quotes. She says, "There is no other organ quite like the uterus. If men had such an organ, they would brag about it. And so should we. And so we should." I have a dream. I have my Martin Luther King dream of teenage girls leaving school feeling totally empowered by their uteruses and how effective they are, and loving and knowing how their cycle works and ebbs and flows. Did you know your uterus helps you get pregnant? Did you know that? Hi Natalie, I'm so glad you're back. You threw me for a massive frigging curveball, lady, but I boldly soldiered on and Carly joined us, so we're good. It's like our little Wednesday morning thing. I like it. Good to see you. Did you know your uterus can help you get pregnant? So when you orgasm, it's not just your vagina that contracts or your clitoris, it's also your uterus, which draws that lovely fecund semen all the way up through your body and helps you get knocked up. It's brilliant stuff. The whole thing's designed beautifully by evolution. And so, so I have this dream that teenage girls, even before they're starting to think about their kind of fertility journey in their lives, will be proud of their uterus. You know, I just think you should be. It's a great thing. You can accept that, you know, the uterus and your periods bring you, you know, some ebb and some flow, some ups and some downs, and still feel empowered by it, in my view. But that's a different podcast. The other thing that I think is really interesting about the uterus, because I'm a bit of a history buff and I love it, is that there are hi as well. Historically, there are Neolithic and prehistoric, like menstrual calendars. So like pieces of bone and wood that have women's menstrual calendars sort of notched into them, so that we can see that historically time and the passing of people's lives was measured by women's uteruses. And there is this strange thing, which is teetering on the brink of a bit woo for me, but I'm going to go with it because I think it's worth it. The moon cycle on average is 29.5 days. Guess what the average menstrual cycle is? Ladies, it's 29.5 days. There are 13 full moons in the Gregorian calendar, in the annual calendar. Guess how many menstrual cycles there are for a woman? The average age of menarche, or the first period for girls. Guess what? 13. Who knew? 52 is the average age of menopause for 52 weeks in the year. There are our cycles are average 4 weeks. Guess how many seasons there are in the year? There are 4 seasons in the year. There's some kind of cosmic fluid. I know you do, Carly. I friggin' love it as well. I know you think I don't love it, and I kind of partially don't, but then there are these little moments where you think, that's kind of not, it's a little bit woo, but it's also about actually how important women historically have been to society and to culture. You know, the fact that time was measured by our bodies, and that was how time was originally patterned, is a freaking amazing thing. Why are we not banging on a drum about that? You know, and if you're this doesn't directly help you with your pregnancy or your labour or your birth, but it is this respect that we should have for our bodies, that if we took that into our pregnancies and our labours and our births, we might feel a bit more empowered and a bit stronger and a bit more confident about it. I'm ready to go with it. I'm going to move on from uteruses. I'm going to start talking about placentas. Placentas, my friend, marvellous things. Often discussed in passing with reference. Women are awesome. God. Oh, yes, and midwives do see the woo with every full moon. I love that. And I would love there to be some kind of study, some kind of really rational, practical study. Is there? I don't know. Somebody might be able to tell me whether there is or not. But an actual study of whether there are actually more births around the full moon or not. I think there are. But, you know, hey ho, it'll be lovely to find that out. Maybe one day I'll do a study on that. Placentas. This is another thing that you just don't think about until you get pregnant. Placentas, it's a whole new friggin' organ, ladies. We build, we develop, we grow a whole new organ in our bodies, right? Right up until, I think about 150 million years ago, I love it, full moon and babies. There were no, we all came from eggs. So like generations came from eggs, and evolution identified that wombs and placentas were the way forward, and look where we are. Mammals take over the world. And what an interesting thing that is. And how does that even happen? And that, you know, I started to read today some really esoteric academic piece about how that happens in evolution, that, you know, from an evolutionary point of view, it makes sense if something starts off with a small arm, then realizes that arms are quite useful, and then those arms get stronger and stronger. But the uterus and placentas and mammalian birth is a bit like the development of the eye. If there's nothing there to start with, where does that even come from? It's a paleontological thing that I can't even begin to get my head around. However, it is an important piece of information. And the job that the placenta does, it's an amazing thing. So I was reading a piece today on a website called Mental Floss, and Mental Floss is using words like the placenta hijacks the mother's system. It's an invasive placenta. They're all quite aggressive words. They're quite hard words. It's quite almost negative, hijacking, invasive. But actually, it's more that the placenta taps into the mother's ecosystem to support the development of this baby. So not only does it bring oxygen and nutrients, but it also dispatches toxins and the not so waste products away from the baby, and it protects the baby from the mother's immune system. So your immune system naturally would reject a foreign object or a foreign body in yours, but the job of the placenta is to produce those hormones that protect the baby and increase the efficiency of the pregnancy. It's an amazing bloody thing. How fantastic. We grow a whole new organ and we don't talk about it. Placentas are amazing things. And historically, that you may or may not have seen the tree of life, that the placenta, the cord as the trunk of the tree, and then all of the blood vessels as the branches. And it's a beautiful thing. And we see that in lots of sort of more pagan societies. And again, that's a bit more respect for your bodies and this incredible thing that we do, and how well protected your baby is during your pregnancy. It's all good stuff. And I've got a lovely quote as well. So my Mental Floss quote. I love a bit of reading while the baby's down. So this is a quote from a lady called Catherine Spong, who is from the National Institute of Child and Human Development, and she works on the Human Placenta Project. And she says, and I love this because so often when we talk about uteruses and we talk about placentas and we talk about periods and we talk about birth and all that kind of stuff, it's all very female-centric, and not only female-centric, but this particular period in women's lives. So it feels like it's got a very narrow niche focus. But Catherine Spong says, if you could understand how the placenta allows two genetically distinct entities not only to grow, but also to thrive, the implications for enhancing our understanding of immunology and transplant medicine would be pretty remarkable. And wouldn't it though? That'd be pretty amazing if you could learn how to, if we could really unpick that. And I think what's even more interesting is, just to tap back into this, my slight feminist banging on the patriarchy's door thing, is given that we all are born of woman, we all go through that process. Isn't it interesting that we've got to this stage now and we're only just starting to think about the implications of this for medicine and health outside obstetrics and women's issues? I think it's a really interesting thought. Yeah, so that's my placenta thing, and I just love what she says about that. My thing 3 this evening is oxytocin. I bloody love oxytocin. This is one of the best books I've ever bought. Quite a lot of my birthing books are the best books I've ever bought. This is called The Oxytocin Factor. It's by a Swedish woman whose name I'm going to try and pronounce. Kerstin Uvnas Moberg, I think. Written in 2015, I think this book was. And I bloody love it. It's a whole book about oxytocin, and it's not a whole book about birth. So this is about oxytocin as a hormone and how it affects our lives in lots of different ways. So, oxytocin. So I've got a little bit of history buffs. Love a bit of history buffing. History buffs. Oxytocin, discovered 1906 by Sir Henry Dale, man, obviously. Substance in the pituitary gland, which was understood to speed up childbirth. And its name is from the Greek for quick labour, tokos. So it's not toxin as in toxic, it's tokos as in the Greek for birth. Oxytocin is present unchanged in every mammal species. So it's this incredible hormone that maintains its kind of consistency all the way through the mammals. And it's traditionally known as a female hormone because it's associated with these kind of very female attributes of closeness and nurturing and receptivity and being open and nurturing and nourishing. Although it is present in men as well as women. And it's an important hormone for personal and social bonding. So oxytocin is related also to the catecholamines, the stress hormones like adrenaline. And the balance of those two things is what often strengthens those social bonds in large societies. So it's quite an interesting, understanding how oxytocin works like that is quite interesting. As far as we're concerned, it's really interesting. So oxytocin isn't just how you get your baby out, it's how you get your baby in. It's that lovely chilled out, blissed out feeling you get after sex, you know, when you're all a bit kind of snuggly and feeling very lovely towards your other half. And you get that feeling after childbirth. Can you imagine? Whoever says that to you when, you know, before you're really researching and doing any kind of birth preparation, that the same feeling you have after you've had sex is the feeling that you can access, that sense of euphoria after you've given birth. It's frigging amazing, ladies and possibly gentlemen, but I'm kind of assuming just ladies at the moment. Oxytocin is responsible for bonding, so that, you know, so you can see how this jigsaw puzzle starts to fit together. You know, the oxytocin is responsible for social and personal bonding. It's also the hormone that is responsible for the smooth and efficient function of your uterus during labour, which I've made a note about later on, but it's not entirely here. So you have this massive dose of oxytocin while you're labouring, and then of course it's there after your baby's born, so it's responsible for a lot of that initial bonding, which is known as the Luke is watching. Oh, I love that. Hi, Luke. High five, my man fan. I like that, my man fan. It's good, Luke, my man fan. So the oxytocin, you get this massive injection while you're labouring, then it's there for bonding with your baby. And guess what else it's responsible for? Yes, it's responsible for breastfeeding as well. And it's one of the key hormones that's around when you start breastfeeding. And anybody who's ever expressed milk or experienced a letdown reflex will know that it's not just being near your baby that can kickstart that, but it's also hearing the sound of your baby's cries. And sometimes looking at pictures of your baby can kickstart that letdown reflex. So, you know, oxytocin is a flipping madly powerful hormone, and it's there to protect you. It's there to look after you during labour and to ease this whole process through, because you are, from an evolutionary perspective, perfectly designed to do this. And that's where I got to my note about oxytocin and how it works with your uterus, because that's how you identify that environment is important. So the oxytocin is this hormone that's associated with calm and connection. And so that's how you identify that you can have some control over your birth. Because if you're in an environment where you feel calm and connected, and actually it doesn't matter where that is, it can be hospital, it could be home, it could be a birthing centre, it could be wherever you feel comfortable birthing your baby. The environment doesn't matter, but the team and your sense of security and comfort and feeling looked after and respected, those are the things that are the identifiers for a good birth. So actually those are the areas where you have some control. I'm just noticing the time, and I'm going to start rattling on a little bit because I'm going to start running over in a minute. And you're all probably thinking it's 8:30 and you could do with a cup of tea. I would be. So you have this incredible reactive ecosystem that supports you through your labour, right? Oxytocin, because it's released in the pituitary gland, you can have a positive reaction, which is this amazing cycle. You know, for some reason that we haven't quite identified, the brain sends a signal to the pituitary gland to release the oxytocin. The oxytocin affects the muscles of the uterus, which start to contract. And as the muscles start to contract in the uterus, the baby's head pushes down on the cervix. As a result of the baby's head pushing down on the cervix, messages are sent back up to your brain, and your brain goes, aye, aye, baby on the move, and signals to the pituitary gland to start kickstarting some oxytocin. You've got that lovely virtuous cycle of things working really nicely and smoothly and uninterrupted, and in a place where you feel happy and secure and confident. That's lovely. The flip side of that is what's known as the fear, tension, pain cycle. So if you're feeling anxious or concerned or vulnerable or not safe or not secure, or you don't understand what's going on, or you're fearful, you have this fear reaction. As a result of the fear reaction, you start to feel tense, and those then stress hormones like adrenaline start kicking in. Because the adrenaline starts kicking in, your body can't produce quite so much oxytocin. Things have to work a little bit harder, not quite so efficiently. As a result of that, you're feeling a little bit of pain. And then you have the opposite of the virtuous cycle. You have this cycle of negativity, of fear, tension, pain. The more pain you feel, the more tense you feel, and you're going on, and it goes round in circles, and it's not a lovely thing. The important thing to know from that, though, is that you can control that environment. So again, it doesn't matter where you are. I don't advocate anything other than finding a place where you feel comfortable. And if you can go into that place and really make it feel like yours, you are in a fantastically happy place. Oh, there's a bit of chat going on. I don't really know what it's about, but I'm very happy about it. And that is this lovely reactive ecosystem. So again, just to zip back to where I was at the beginning, often I hear people saying there's no point doing birth preparation because it goes out of the window through the door and you can't control what happens on the day. And there's truth in that, in the same way that you can't control what happens on your journey to work in the morning, or you can't control what happens at the hotel when you go on holiday, and you can't control what happens in job interviews, because there's only so much that you can control. But what you can control, you can control. So control the stuff that is within your control, and you put yourself in a much better situation. And the whole purpose of this evening is to give you this boost of confidence so that you walk away going, actually, I'm covered. My body, evolution, is supporting me in doing this job. All you need to know is what levers and pulleys you can effect so that you can have a really good experience. And I think the last thing that I was going to say was there is so much that we don't know about our bodies still. Research, medical research, covers so many areas, and one of the areas it doesn't cover particularly well is women and women's bodies and women's issues. We do a lot of covering issues, covering when things go wrong, identifying how you can fix stuff, but we don't provide the balance of how effective your body is and how well prepared your body is, and how evolution kind of works to produce happy, healthy, comfortable, and how you are the pinnacle of evolution, right? Like, you are the successful result of every pregnancy for generations. Something's got to be working, right? Don't you think? So that is my Monday night mindset. I feel like you should be walking away going, oh my God, I'm amazing. My body is perfectly designed to do this. And, my baby's very comfy in there, and we should both be looking forward to some positive birth experience, because that's what it's all about, is you walking away feeling good at the tail end of it. I'm winding down. I'm just wondering if anyone's got any questions or anything they want to ask before I zip off and leave you to your Monday night and go have a cup of tea on the sofa, put my feet up. I'm just going to leave that hanging there. Oh, Carly Gudgeon, Natalie Stringer, I'm so lucky to have you ladies. It's really lovely. For anybody who's here who doesn't know, Natalie and Carly are also hypnobirthing instructors in the area. So Natalie, like where I'm sitting at the moment, I could literally throw a stone and hit Natalie's back window. Bye-bye, Yorkshire. See you later, ladies. And Carly is the other side of Tunbridge Wells. And I love the fact that we've kind of got together and had a couple of chats about how we teach and how important hypnobirthing is and how brilliant women are and are really supporting each other in this endeavour. With the idea being that the more of us who are advocates of hypnobirthing and positive birth and good birth, the better, frankly, because there are hundreds of pregnant women around here. And if we can make a difference to some of those women's experiences so that they enter their mothering feeling powerful and capable and strong, so much the better. So I love that, and I'm really happy. Thank you. I'm sending like a little heart to you, Carly Gudgeon and Natalie Stringer too. Virtual high five, ladies. So I am going to wrap up right there. I'm desperately looking forward to this week because I'm child free, so I can get some work done, which is amazing. And I'm quite excited. And I'm going to start booking some dates for classes and doing some stuff. It's very exciting. So look after yourselves, everyone. I'll catch up with you soon. See you later. I have to keep smiling until I click edit end broadcast, otherwise I look like a nutter. Bye.